The Geekery update with
Alan.
Bryan. The Geekery update.
The Geekery update.
The Geekery update.
The Geekery update.
The Geekery update. Oh no, they're great.
Oh, they're great.
Hey, did you see Noob Master 69 was revealed?
Spoiler alert. Is that something they're going to put in the movies?
No. It was revealed during a promo
Is it
for Falcon and Winter Soldier. So, do you remember Captain America and the Winter Soldier?
Oh yeah, that's my favorite MCU movie.
Why did I ask that question?
Right.
To someone who is a fan of Marvel. That might be the stupidest thing I do today. Anyway, so when they are in the Apple store trying to find the information on that disc,
Yeah.
and the Apple employee walks up with the long hair and the beard, right? Yeah, so his name's Aaron. His name is Aaron. And he was recently featured in a Falcon and Winter Soldier promo that Xbox did. And it features Sam Wilson, aka Falcon. And it's just a regular Xbox commercial, games, controllers, Xbox Live, etc. But then it ends with Aaron giving Sam his gamer tag. Noob Master 69.
Nice.
I'm like, Marvel? First of all, I thought that was a 8-year-old because Thor was like, go cry to your parents. So now I know that a full-grown Aaron lives with his parents.
Right. So that's neat that they did that. I mean, I guess a lot of people were hoping it was like Deadpool or somebody, but but you know what they say about great expectations, which is that'd be a good segue into this episode. But I wanted to back up, put a pin in that one. So no, I would say what I wanted to bring up is I kind of wanted to be a fly on the wall when you were at the convenience store the other day. This story that you told us, where you went in there and the two clerks knew nothing about Marvel and the MCU, but by the time you left, they were an expert. I don't. How did that start, and what all did you say, and what were their reactions? And please enlighten me.
Okay, let me see if I can remember everything. I was wearing my Iron Man. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I have this Iron Man shirt that when I pull over it's like the helmet.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. You wore that in a couple of our episodes, but I kind of.
Well, yeah, I try to wear. This is Harry Potter, but I try to wear.
Okay.
If I'm gonna podcast for a Geekery update, I try to be somewhat nerdy.
Yeah. And I figured it started off with a T-shirt. I figured that.
Oh yeah, it was my Iron Man shirt.
In fact, I think Tim even said something about it. Was it a shirt he was wearing or something? So that was the girl that was at the counter. It was, I don't know, she was probably in her. I had never seen her. It was the first time, so she's probably new. She's, I don't know, early 20s. But the other employee that was there, also female, she was probably early 50s would be my guess. She's pretty much always there when I go to that gas station. So I actually know her personally, not personally, but like we know each other. Yeah. We see each other pretty often. You've talked to her a time or two.
Yeah, when we talk, it's like, good to see you again. You too. So anyway, the younger girl, she asked a question about Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man.
Right.
And I made
question.
She didn't ask a question. She made a comment about Robert Downey Jr. back in the day being cast as Iron Man.
Okay.
So I started talking about the Iron Man movie, and then I was like, and do you know what actually pissed me off about Iron Man? This is where it starts. She goes, what? I was like, in the second movie, Tony Stark's supposed to be an alcoholic. Like in the comics, he was an alcoholic. That was something he was known for.
Right.
I was like, they had an opportunity to make Tony Stark a recovering alcoholic in the MCU, right? But he just got real drunk at a party and fought War Machine and got his butt kicked, right? So I expressed how frustrated I was that they teased his alcohol addiction, but never did anything with it, right? And she goes, okay, I didn't know that he was an alcoholic. Yeah, he is. Do you know what else
pissed me off. And I just basically listed a few things in the MCU that have pissed me off. And then I started talking about Doctor Strange. That's when I got on the subject of Doctor Strange. I talked about the winds of Vishnu. I legitimately, so let me see. I need to be talking when I do this so everyone can see. Okay. So the winds of Vishnu, guys, is this. It's basically, and that will produce
Oh, you even got the hand moments down.
enough wind. Well, according to the MCU movies, that's what it is. So Doctor Strange winds of Vishnu in the Infinity War movie, when that donut ship is above New York City and all that dust is flying around, and he's like, and he blows it out the way, and then he looks at Tony Stark and he's like, wink, wink, wink. And Tony Stark's like, well, show off, right? One of my favorite scenes in the MCU is like that little sequence. But no, basically, I just talked about the MCU. And then once I got into Doctor Strange, I started talking about like different realms. And then I expressed to them the multiverse is coming up and they should be really excited to see potentially Tom Cruise as Iron Man. John Krasinski is Captain America. Emily Blunt is Black Widow. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
So, at first, at least at the very beginning, it was more than just one-sided.
Yeah, at the beginning, she had genuine curiosity. But by the end, she was like, I now know what the winds of Vishnu are. I had 0% interest in that like a minute ago. And I still have 0% interest, but I still know.
So out of all of that, did you happen to, say, hey, I got this podcast where I talk about all this stuff.
Nope.
You should.
Nope.
No. Perfect opportunity.
Alan, I obsess over Marvel. And when the door opens and I start talking about it, it can get dangerous.
It can get dangerous. There should just be a subliminal thought right there. Just keeping that in mind. Just whenever you start that, say, I got a podcast called Geekery Update.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, let's get into this. First off, I want to start this off by saying, this may not necessarily be the greatest copy because this is my proof copy. Check out my newest book, Sasquatch and the Scorpion. And really, if you want to start anywhere with my book, start with the first one, Hostage 100, because that's the first in the universe. But there you go. Hostage 100, Sasquatch and Scorpion, Alan D. Lyons. Check those out. If you like what I have to say here, if you like what Bryan has to say here, and if you like the way that we talk with each other, then you just might enjoy those books.
We do talk nicely to each other, but sometimes we say things inappropriately. Speaking of cool things that we want to show and tell, y'all want to see my Mjolnir?
That is great, Bryan.
You're welcome. You're showing off a book, and I'm like, I don't have. Oh, it's a hammer. So I didn't even say Mjolnir right. Mir.
Yeah, that's what Darcy says. Mjolnir. Oh, that's another pin in that one. Okay, so this episode.
Speaking of Darcy.
What?
Speaking of Darcy. Talk about Alan.
Yeah. So, okay. This episode we're going to talk about, this is our wrap episode on WandaVision. We really tried to refrain from our previous episodes to talk about it, especially when we were recording while the show was going on, to avoid any spoilers. We did have the episode, just a little bonus episode on Bryan's theory on WandaVision, which we will cover that as well.
So wrong. I got white vision right, but everything else was
wrong.
There
were some things that might be a little more right than you realize, at least in my thought process. But yeah, so this is our wrap episode on WandaVision. Bryan, why don't you go ahead and start?
Okay. Are we going to talk about the whole thing or just
talk about the whole thing?
I'll keep it start to finish. I'll keep it brief. I loved it. But when the season finale initially aired and I watched it, I left that episode very disappointed.
Cool.
This is the final episode, episode 9, the final series finale of WandaVision. I was very disappointed my first initial time watching it. and I had to do a lot of thinking, and like I had to really put, a thought process together as to why I didn't like it. And I started listing reasons in my head, such as no Reed Richards, no Mephisto, no Doctor Strange, no Wong, right? Like all this stuff, and I didn't get to see more MCU. Like Wanda creates a fake reality inside of a hex in a city in the United States, and not a single Avenger arrives, shows up, comes to talk to her, whatever, right? But then I started thinking about it, and every theory, Mephisto, even Evan Peters, was only ever talked about and speculated by fans. At no point did Marvel ever come out and say anything such as the aerospace engineer is going to be someone special. Evan Peters is playing a multiverse role. None of this was said by Marvel. What Marvel did say, and they made this clear, and Kevin did from the beginning, is that WandaVision is a story about Wanda and her grief.
Say that again. You cut up there.
Wait a second. WandaVision is and forever will be was meant to be a story about Wanda and her grief.
Okay.
So you think about the series, and she deals with all 5 stages of grief, all of them. Okay. And she becomes the Scarlet Witch, right?
Yes.
And it's I think that final post-credits scene where she's Scarlet Witch ghost and doing that magic with the Darkhold, it looks like she has the multiverse open, because there's a sphere here, there's another like half sphere over here, and then she starts hearing her kids. Yeah, I think she opened the multiverse. But after I allowed what Marvel said about it to sink in, and I started removing what were my expectations for the show, I watched the final episode again. Episode 7 is my favorite episode from the series. I loved it. Episode 7 was the Modern Family one, where the most popular scene, I think, from it is when Wanda's like, I'm fine. Breaks my heart. But I think that was my favorite episode, hands down. That was also the Agatha All Along reveal, that they turned that into a song.
Yeah, right.
One of the greatest, I don't know. So the more I thought about WandaVision as a whole, what it was meant to be, what Marvel told me it was going to be, and I removed my part of it, my part in the story and my expectations of what I wanted to see, and did not make it a Marvel marketing show, but a show about Wanda and Vision.
Right.
And then I watched the final episode for a second time. I enjoyed it. And WandaVision is the best Marvel show, hands down. It's also the only one so far. Yeah. But I would probably between 8.6 and 8.8 out of 10 is what I would give it. Which on my grading scale, just so you guys know, very, very, very particular, and very, very seldom do I ever give over 9.
Okay.
Over 9 would be a near perfect movie.
Because I was under the assumption that everything gets the Bryan seal of approval, especially if it's Marvel.
As long as it's 70% or up, it's typically a Bryan seal of approval. Some examples of stuff that have gotten 9 and up before would be Infinity War. Sorry, guys, not Endgame. Infinity War, for sure. I think Infinity War, personally, just hands down my favorite Marvel movie.
See,
hands down.
I liked Endgame a lot because I am big into time travel, and I especially loved it when they went and visited the other movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so
if you're going to give me time travel, that's what I want, especially when it's set in the MCU. So that's why Endgame is above Infinity War for me.
And so I will say this: Endgame is better because of Infinity War. Infinity War is better because of Endgame.
Well, they exist as a
Very
whole.
seldom do films complement each other.
I mean, they're
to the
originally
extent
supposed to be
they do.
one big movie anyway, or a part one and part two. So
Right.
yeah,
True.
they are a
True,
part
true,
one and part two. But yeah,
But yeah, the thing I loved about Infinity War most was it was the first time, maybe in movie history, that we have seen that many franchises together in a single film. You can say they were all Marvel, right? You totally can, because they are. But up until Infinity War, we had never had the Spider-Man IP, the Doctor Strange IP, the Guardians IP, the
right.
Iron Man IP, Captain America. I mean, you had all these IPs thrown into a single film. They each had a role. They each had a moment in the film. They each had significant something, and it was a very balanced movie for how many characters they had.
And remember what Thanos says: "Perfectly balanced as all things should be."
You guys couldn't see, but I tried to keep a straight face for as long as I could.
Right, I could see just the pure joy trying to jump out of your face.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So WandaVision, 8.6. I'll give it an 8.7. That's right between 6 and 8. So I'll give it an 8.7 out of 10. I'm gonna say it right now. Unless a show comes out with acting that is above and beyond what I've seen, if not Catherine Hahn and Elizabeth Olsen deserves an Emmy for this. If you binge it next time you feel bored, but the character she is in episode 1 completely different than episode 5, which is completely different than episode 6. She had to act her butt off.
So that Emmy comment right there. Okay, see this hand? Down. Hands down.
Hands down an Emmy. And I would like to see Catherine Hahn get nominated and potentially win. But here is why I don't think that's plausible. Her screen time.
Yeah.
She is great as she was. I loved her. Catherine Hahn is a magician on the camera.
No pun intended.
She just didn't have a lot of screen time up until the final two episodes.
But yet those final episodes, it did make up for the screen time. She was in every episode, but then
why not Paul Bettany? Paul Bettany did. I mean, he was phenomenal as Vision as well. And I know it's harder to see because he's not human. He's an android. But that scene where he yells at Wanda when they're in the house, that I was like, whoa! He gets mad.
And yeah, androids and robots aren't supposed to have emotion.
Yeah, it's
wink, wink. They always do.
I loved the surprises in WandaVision 2. Not WandaVision 2, but WandaVision, TOO. Like the Evan Peters reveal at the end of episode 5. That's probably one of the coolest endings to it, at least a show I've ever seen. Like the ending of episode 5 when it's Evan Peters at the door and you're just like,
right. And that got me so excited because we all heard the news that Evan Peters was going to be in WandaVision, right? And that might have been, we even touched on that in one of our earlier episodes. And I was like, you were like, oh, I think he's Mephisto or whatever, which everybody thought everybody was Mephisto. But I was like, dude, he's Quicksilver. You're casting somebody who's Quicksilver in this. He's Quicksilver. He's got to be. And that kind of led to my feelings about the finale. But
I would have given WandaVision a 9 or higher if they had casted someone other than Evan Peters, because regardless of how they justify it or defend it, they still cast Evan Peters, the most, if not the most popular X-Men from the Fox franchise, one of them. His scenes as Quicksilver are some of the most liked in a superhero movie.
At least when, like, okay, the way I view the Fox X-Men movies, you got like two generations here, right? You've got, you know, the first, so you had the first three movies, and then loop in some of the Wolverine movies in there, and then, or at least the first Wolverine movie, and then they started off were like prequels, new actors, younger actors. So here's a new generation, right? So the first generation, I think Hugh Jackman was the most popular, right?
Mhm.
And then that second generation, Hugh Jackman was still in that stuff, and like Logan was a phenomenal movie and everything. I really enjoyed the Wolverine.
Oh my gosh, I forget Logan's a superhero movie sometimes.
Oh
It's
my
so
God,
good.
yeah. But out of all that, yeah, Quicksilver would have been the most popular out of all that.
I mean,
Now,
if we're being
Jennifer
honest,
Lawrence was probably up there, but I wasn't a huge fan of her as Mystique. But that's for another episode.
I really liked her as Mystique. I just didn't like that Fox was constantly having her be Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, and well,
Mystique isn't Jennifer Lawrence. She's a blue alien that can transform.
I wasn't a huge fan of them. Kept trying to make her a good guy. It's like Mystique is one of the best villains for X-Men, but yet you keep trying to shoehorn her in there as trying to be
Because Jennifer Lawrence is a anyway. But that scene in Days of Future Past where it's right after they rescue Magneto from his jail cell,
right?
And Quicksilver has to run around and take all the cops out when they're in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that scene was coming. Nobody. And I remember being in the movie theater and that scene specifically happening. The crowd, Alan, it doesn't happen very often, was in shock. None of us knew how to respond. We were like, this is the funniest, coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
Right. So again, like when it was announced, Evan Peters was, and then he shows up as her brother when Quicksilver. Hell's yeah, we get a multiverse Quicksilver, and I'm okay with that because Evan Peters is amazing.
Okay,
but his name's
yeah. While we're on that discussion, yeah. What were you just gonna say there?
I was gonna say no. His name turns out to be Ralph Boner.
Yeah.
Like Ralph, we gave y'all a boner.
Well, the positive thing about it, or my positive thoughts on that, and then I'm going to get into my negative thoughts, but my positive thought on that was, okay, this is the Ralph that Agnes has been talking about along, her husband or whatever. It was like, oh, okay, cool. That's where Ralph comes into play, right? Other than that, I felt like this is the second time now they have blue balled us on the multiverse. The first time, which I'm not too upset about the first time. I just knew it was like, okay, you teased us, it's coming, okay? Which is Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home. How, you know, they teased it up in the trailers and everything. And the first half of the movie, we're like, oh, Mysterio is from an alternate universe, from another, what they call it. They gave it a specific number, I don't remember. And then, you know, when they do the whole twist in the middle, which that's one reason why I wasn't too upset about it, because I really appreciated that twist, because that's really what Mysterio is. Going back to his appearances, like when Stan Lee wrote him and stuff, that's what
he's an illusionist.
Yes, he's an illusionist, and like even in that first appearance of his, he was trying to fool everybody that he was a good guy. So I wasn't too upset about that, right? You know, okay, you blue balled us about the multiverse, but it's coming, you know. And then, okay, so we come here with Quicksilver. Like, hearing the news that Evan Peters was cast, of course, immediately I thought, yeah, that's what we're doing. We're introducing the multiverse. He's going to be playing the Quicksilver of the Fox universe coming on over, right? Now, it was cool that was the Easter egg that they did. That was the cameo that they did. That, you know, we cast Evan Peters because everybody knew him from that role, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we, you know, we had discussed it. We're like, okay, I think you had said, I still think he's Mephisto, you know. And I was like, I'm not.
I thought everyone was Mephisto at some point, honestly.
But it was like, I'm like really sold on that he's Quicksilver for one thing. But I hate that this is like, we're building this up. This is this person. And all of a sudden, oh no, we're that person actually. Like,
and it was so anticlimactic too. Like if they would have made it more climactic, yeah, maybe I would have been more, but it was so.
It was a huge blue ball. And like, I was even explaining to people that, you know, we're discussing this, and some of these people only know from what they watch from the movies and stuff. So I'm like, okay, this is Scarlet Witch's power. She pulls from the multiverse. She will take something from this dimension and bring it on over here. So I was saying, coupled with your theory from that bonus episode we did, how you were saying how you thought maybe Vision was from a vision from another universe, dimension, whatever. I was like, this is what we're doing with Quicksilver. We're pulling him over. That's what I was trying to explain to people, pulling him over from the Fox universe. And then at the very end, we're like, nah, see, he's an actor we hired, kind of like what we did with the Mandarin. You know, that was Trevor Slate. He was an actor that we hired.
Here's my thoughts on Trevor.
Yeah, you gasped there. I noticed something. Stop that.
No, I was frustrated with that because Ben Kingsley is a national treasure, and he was treated like dirt. Granted, he acted phenomenally as always, but
yeah, I'm beginning to like the Trevor Slate character, especially after that All Hollow the King short.
Just bring him back and have some fun with him. That's all I want at this point.
Which maybe he'll be in Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah, okay. Because they're bringing the real Mandarin, and that all Hail the King short, they really set it up where they're like, there's a real Mandarin out there, and it's reporter that was, I'm actually from the terrorist organization, the 10 Rings, so we brought it full circle there. And again, this is going back to me saying I wasn't a big fan of saying we're one person and another. So maybe we'll just disregard me saying that. But, you know, I was a big fan of that.
With COVID and everything, a lot of movie studios were impacted. And I think Marvel Studios, more than any other studio, has been impacted most because they don't just have a couple shows and a couple movies, right? Everything works with each other.
It's all
they can't have one without another, right? You delay one, you delay them all, stuff like that. And WandaVision was supposed to be after Far From Home, I think the third or fourth Marvel release.
Oh yeah, because
it was after Black Widow, Falcon and Winter. It would have been the fourth because it would have came out after the Eternals.
Yeah, see, I'm pretty sure Far From Home, Black Widow, Eternals, then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, then WandaVision.
Yes.
So it was original plan.
When we get on Falcon and Winter Soldier, that reminds me, I have anyway. But
okay.
You know, I think because WandaVision was first, and I don't know if you saw this either, but the director said I think it was last week, that the original plan was for the first Friday it aired, January 15th, that first Friday WandaVision aired, they were going to air 3 episodes. Episodes 1 through 3. Yes. To close with Wanda throwing Monica out of the hex.
Okay.
But they could not finish the visual effects in an adequate enough time for the 3rd episode while also working on the effects for the last episode. So they postponed that episode 3 to the following week, which I just thought that was kind of interesting that they were going to debut with 3 episodes.
Yeah. Which they ended up debuting with 2 episodes, but yeah.
Right.
Then that left a lot of people were like, there was some people still on the fence with that because the first 2 episodes were grounded in the reality or the sitcom reality, and basically shown as the people on the fence were like, is this what we're gonna do? We're just gonna do sitcoms,
right?
And in that 3rd or 4th episode, like that was the 4th episode when they showed what Darcy and Jimmy Woo were up to and showing them how they were seeing it from the outside, then I think that grabbed a lot of people right there. At least the fence sitters, you know.
I think episode 4 was an episode. I think so. What I loved most about episode 4 was that it retold the story of 1 through 3.
Yeah.
From the outside of the Hex perspective, and I thought that was an interesting way to do episode 4, is a rehash of 1 through 3 from the outside.
I love it when stories do that, when they tell you a story, and then we get a piece right here where we're going to rehash it, but from another point of view. I did that a lot in Hostage 100.
Really?
Yeah.
It makes me more excited to read it. There's a movie
I forget what it is. It came out in the early 2000s, I think. It's somewhere in Europe, I think, but a bomb goes off somewhere. And the entire movie is like 7 or 8 different people's perspective of that's
Okay.
it's such a good movie. So yeah, going back to that, it's really cool when they do stories like that. Like
Yeah.
they tell one story but from different perspectives.
Oh yeah. Okay, so my thoughts, my opinions. Okay. First, I want to start off by saying, like watching this, I was thinking I like to watch this as all one cohesive thing. Take out those long ass post credits, or not post credits, but those really long credits. Take that out of the situation and just watch it as one long movie. Because Kevin Feige had said one time that WandaVision was supposed to be like a 6-hour movie. So I'm watching this, I'm thinking I really like to watch it this way. Well, lo and behold, our friends, superhero theorists, which I'm pretty sure he's part of the Murphy's Multiverse.
Yeah, they're part. I was actually going to say they're part of Murphy's Multiverse.
Yeah, they're responsible for. Well, they started off and they did the Revenge of the Sith supercut, which they added those last episodes of Clone Wars that happened around Revenge of the Sith, and they edited some deleted scenes in there. They made this really sweet movie.
Supercut.
Yes, a supercut. And, you only had, since it was fan made, they couldn't actually just release it for download. They had special presentations on Twitch for you to watch. So then they had that. And then they came back and they had they called it the Infinity Gauntlet supercut, which was Infinity War and Endgame, but like right there in the middle when the snap happened, they added some of the like the end credits of like Ant-Man and the Wasp and some other things that they had showed, like I think some stuff from Captain Marvel, the end credits are there, and just kind of showing you what was going on in between there with the snap. And so they had a really cool supercut of that. So here our friends are back again. They're doing a supercut of WandaVision, which I want to say
Age of Ultron, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, WandaVision.
Yeah. See, when I had watched the Revenge of the Sith supercut, I'm thinking this is a great idea, adding these television episodes in here. And I automatically thought what they need to do is Captain America Winter Soldier supercut, because there was the episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that happened at the same time of that movie. And I want to see that as a supercut. Anyways, with that being said,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. My theory is the entire Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s TV series takes place in the Loki time, in the timeline that Thanos got removed and killed from.
Well, see, there was so after Joss Whedon was done with Marvel, after his contract was up and everything, because he was the creator of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like he started that show off. He had came out and said he revealed something, like obviously they went a different way than what he said, but he was like, well, now that I'm out of the contract and everything, I'm just going to outright and spoil it for you. This is all a fever dream of Coulson. So you got an Avengers where Loki had killed him, and then he was like, everything of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is happening in those seconds that he's dying. It's a fever dream of his. And I liked, then obviously they went a different way, but I liked how they went back in like one of the last seasons. They kind of they trolled that. They trolled Joss Whedon, and they put one of the episodes. They tried to tease you, like maybe it was Coulson's fever dream, and then they're like, "Now we're just kidding."
Well, so yeah, so I didn't watch all of it. I watched. I've probably watched 3 seasons of it worth total of all the seasons combined.
Yeah, there's a good chunk in there that I haven't watched yet. Like I watched 3 or 4
So have you seen the finals?
Because
from my understanding, they don't even reference the snap.
No, and yeah, they went off.
And that's why I think it takes place in that universe where Thanos got removed from. Because everything still happens in the MCU as normal, just Infinity War and Endgame never happened.
Yeah, and like, so yeah, they had done Captain America Winter Soldier. They even did some stuff with Thor the Dark World. And they did, I remember when Age of Ultron came out, and they'd even said stuff about that. And I believe they might have even mentioned the Sokovia Accords in there from Civil War.
Right.
But then sometime, and I was reading some kind of article, some kind of an interview where they're like, yeah, we decided to veer off and just do our own thing. But yeah, so maybe that is a Loki. Because yeah, and then there was like Agent Carter was also part of that, part of the whole Agents of Shield and all that. And Agent Carter, you know, talked a lot about the Captain America movies, and so yeah.
Yeah, I need to. Agent Carter's on Disney Plus, right?
Yep, now it is. Yep.
I don't think I'm gonna.
It was on Hulu for a while, but yeah, they moved it
No,
over.
I need to read your books. That's what I need to do.
Well, yes, you do. Anyways, so
I have them in my reading spot in my basement. Like I have an area where I put books that I plan on reading.
yeah,
And they're there. They're waiting for me to pick them up.
we'll do that. With that being said, I want to remind everybody that there's some T-shirts you can get now. There's a Geekery update T-shirt. I'll put a link up on the page and stuff. It's a Geekery update T-shirt, and it says, "With that being said, ladies and gentlemen," that's a couple of our lines that we say quite a bit. And then there's
With
also
that being
some,
said, ladies and gentlemen,
there's also some Chewing on Brains T-shirts as well, some brain digestion T-shirts. So go ahead and check that out. So anyways, with that being said, you know, you got the superhero theorist doing the supercut of WandaVision, which is going to be really neat. Again, I can't remember the date. I think it's like April 1st or something, sometime in April that they're going to be doing that. It's like they had the others. It's a fan cut, so they can't release it anywhere. So it'll be a special presentation on Twitch, but I think they'll have a link on Facebook and stuff. So yeah, I love the execution of the show going on with the sitcoms. I mean, I'm huge into sitcoms. Kim and I, that's one thing we enjoy watching together is sitcoms, and you know, just growing up on all these different sitcoms. I love the execution. Now taking the whole expectations out of the picture, you know, taking all our theories that we had. And I remember even they had said near the end of the show, somebody had said, we're going to be disappointed with all our theories that they've heard, that they knew we came up with. We're going to be disappointed. So take that out of the equation. Take out how we thought that Reed Richards was going to be the aerospace engineer. Take out how we thought Mephisto was everybody. And take out how...
literally...
Oh yeah,
everybody got name dropped as Mephisto, I think, at least once.
Yeah, even the Locust. I mean, but
that was me.
That was you. And even taking out the whole Evan Peters' Quicksilver thing. Yeah, yes, that was a huge boner. Yes, but let's just take that out of the equation as well. Okay. So yeah, kind of got disappointed with things, but it was a very good execution and everything. What disappointed me? Okay. Well, let me touch on this real quick. I loved that the penultimate episode at the very end, how Agnes or Agatha had name dropped her. Had actually called her Scarlet Witch. That was the first time we uttered that name. Okay, and then at the very end, the very last episode, she finally gets her costume with the tiara and stuff. Finally, and then like you said at the end, she gets the Darkhold and she's looking at the multiverse. You know,
that's the assumption. There's no clarification,
right?
But that's the assumption.
Know, how we thought we were blueballed with the multiverse with Evan Peters and everything, and then you had your theory on how maybe she pulled Vision from the multiverse into here. That might still be a possibility. I'm not sure.
I was gonna say because she created him from nothing.
Because that was definitely not the Vision that was laid out in the lab, and how what's his name Hayward had, and who that is what White Vision came from, is what he had created. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So all that being said, I was invested in like, okay, so when we first met up with Darcy and Jimmy Woo, how they go in and they see the hex going on, Darcy names it the hex and all that. There's these there's some kind of law enforcement. They're sitting outside, right? And they're asking questions about it. And they're like,
there is no Westview.
There is no Westview. It doesn't exist and all this. That kind of confused me there at the end. I think maybe that was just part of the spell she put on them and stuff. But like, we're starting to think, okay, so this is a town she had created all like from scratch. And then they were saying how these people, they pinpointed these people, right? And they put up their pictures and stuff. Like, these are the real people's names and all this, like correlated them with the characters they're playing. So, thinking, okay, so she kidnapped these people and put them in this fake town she created, right? And then at the very, like, I guess I wanted some more explanation on that. I mean, I guess this was just like they're at the
So
penultimate
do you want
episode.
explanation? Because I can go over that if you'd like.
Okay, well, let me finish what I'm
Okay,
saying
yeah.
on this. So we get all this episode where we got everything that led up to WandaVision, on how her going to actually in that earlier episode we saw the security footage of her going into the Sword headquarters, and then freaking out. And then we saw what actually happened there. She went and talked to Hayward. She saw Vision there, and then she left without his body, right? And then we see her driving. She's got the plot, the address, and everything. The plot that Vision and her they decided upon. That's where they were going to live to raise a family. And then she gets there, and then like everything bursts out of her, and she creates the hex, including him as well. I don't know where I was going with that. Here we go. Create this
Brain
whole
fart.
grand setup here that I lose my train of thought.
Sounds like a DC movie. No,
Oh,
sorry
Yeah.
guys.
not
DC's
cool, right?
much better
Not
than it used to be. DC's better than they used to be. I'm kidding. DC's fine. I just dug myself a hole. Let me get out of this one.
Yeah.
The Flash is great. Go Batman. Woo!
Anyways, so we learned that okay, the town was actually there to begin with, and that she just put this hex around the town, right?
Okay. Yes. Okay.
I guess what I was kind of disappointed in. I mean, I guess yes, this is Wanda's story, not necessarily even Vision's story. We did see what happened to him, but this is mainly Wanda's story and how she dealt with things. And then at the end, it was all back to square one. But I guess she's got better coping mechanisms, better ways to deal with her powers, and I guess we kind of moved on a little bit from there. I got invested in the actual town itself, and then when they started talking about how these people, who they really were and stuff, I got really interested in who they were. So when at the very end, when they didn't even, they all started coming to her in the street and stuff and trying to talk to her and stuff. We got a little bit of that, but like I wanted more of that, I guess. And so that was
That's
what
fair.
disappointed me. But
That's
thinking
fair.
about it all,
So that sounds like
Wanda's
maybe a little
story.
bit more narration. I like that. A little bit more narration for certain things.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this show wasn't called Westview. It's called WandaVision.
So, something I think that's very important that needs to be notated about WandaVision is a commercial that talked about the Nexus drug
Oh yeah, see, yeah, we haven't picked up on that
and,
yet. The commercial.
and Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
So Scarlet Witch, just so everyone knows, is what they call a Nexus Being. And that means two things. Excuse me. A, she has access to the multiverse, natural access to the multiverse, meaning she doesn't need to break any, design any, like her powers alone give her access to the multiverse. But she's also a Nexus Being, which means she is the only Scarlet Witch in all of the multiverses.
Okay.
So when Kevin Feige came out and said in December at Disney Investors Day that WandaVision, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange are going to be 3 parts of a multiverse story, the assumption I immediately put was WandaVision was going to deal with the multiverse.
Right. Yeah.
She needed to become the Scarlet Witch before she could do anything with the multiverse. So he wasn't lying.
Right.
WandaVision was her story and how she became the Scarlet Witch so she could do the multiverse.
Okay, so that makes me think about how if we ever do pull in the Fox universe, that could really retcon things there, because we had Quicksilver, but we didn't have Scarlet Witch.
It's funny, he had a sister,
He had a
but
sister.
she was not the Scarlet Witch.
Right. She had red hair and everything, But I mean, obviously they're twins, so they had to have been the same age. But there was the whole like, could that have been Scarlet Witch? They're just not making them twins.
Yep. So
He has two sisters, by the way. I just want to point that out. We have seen his other sister in live action, but not connected. His other sister is Polaris. These are Magneto's 3 kids, which they've tried to retcon that Magneto's not actually their dad, but I'm not buying that. I still subscribe to that. His 3 kids are Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, and Polaris. Polaris being she actually has her father's powers. And there's some things like there's the cartoon Wolverine and the X-Men really played on his relationship with his kids. Like he actually raised Polaris in that story. I can't remember if I think he raised Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch as well, which in the actual comics he didn't, and they learned later on that that's their biological dad and they're adopted and stuff. But in this particular story, he like treated Polaris. She was the baby of them all. She was the youngest, so she was babied, and so she loved her father and everything. While the other 2 kind of had issues with him, and then Quicksilver kind of had daddy issues where he was like, "You don't love me enough. I'm jealous and all this." And so I really liked what they played up in there. But yeah, Polaris, they had her on the show The Gifted, which I don't know what timeline I don't know if that's supposed to be connected with any other thing. They've mentioned a lot of X-Men references in it, but I think that's its own thing. But Polaris was a main character in that.
right on. Yeah, I never saw that, but
yeah, going back to what you're saying about her being a Nexus being, like,
right, yeah.
She's the only Scarlet Witch of the whole multiverse. Which, if they would bring in the whole Fox universe being part of the multiverse, that would explain why she wasn't in there, why Quicksilver was, but she wasn't.
Yep. And yep. So, yeah, I think the last thing that I would ask of from WandaVision that does confuse me a little bit is I don't understand, based off what they how they discussed it. Is she a witch, or is she a mutant and a witch?
See, okay, I think she's both. I think, okay, so when they showed the flashback of her and Pietro as kids with their family and everything, and showing how, lost her parents and all this. So yeah, the house blows up, and then her and Pietro are underneath some rubble or whatever. And then the bomb comes and it says Stark.
And she says no.
Right. And then Agatha's asking her about this. She's like, or was it really a dead, or did you use your powers, And I liked how they pulled, I'm pretty sure in Age of Ultron, when she's talking about her hatred for Stark, she talks about that scene. I'm pretty sure she does. I loved how they actually showed it now. All right.
It was actually, I'm pretty sure it was Quicksilver, because he's the one that, no. It was, he showed the picture, the small picture of the family. And then she talked. Yep. Okay, I remember. I'm sorry.
Okay. So yeah, I like that. And then we touch on that, how so this is kind of where her powers were beginning to come to be, So she may be a mutant, don't know. And then they showed the scenes where she was signing up for she's part of a rebellion thing or whatever, and signing up for these tests and stuff, which that's when they start using the mind gem, which eventually created Vision. But they started with the test with that, and how she could actually withstand it. I think it killed the other test subjects, but she was able to be. And so we're showing her evolution with her powers, right? And how, so Agatha keeps asking her, how are you like this? How are you so strong? I get that you're a witch, because I'm a witch too, but you're way more powerful than I am. And then we're going back and we're looking at this, how she got her powers and stuff. So I think she's both. She was born a mutant, but then her practices and her lifestyle and stuff that's how she's a witch. But her DNA is she's a mutant.
Maybe none of her mutant genes were activated, but when the Mind Stone affected her,
right?
That's when because think about it.
Okay.
Quicksilver He got powers after the Mind Stone. Maybe he had mutant DNA.
Well, yeah, I guess that's kind of suggested in that theory that he's a mutant as well.
Yeah.
Which
But-
this kind of leads into, I mean, we won't go right into our next episode, but this kind of leads into what I brought up this theory to you before, how we've talked about mutants in this show, right? We didn't name drop them by mutants, but we're kind of talking about them. If this theory is true that Wanda and PHO are mutants, so we've talked about them, we've introduced them, but we haven't name dropped them yet, then I think in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, not necessarily an actual character like an X-Men will show up, but we will name drop mutants. But we'll put a pin in that. So yeah, just remind everybody that check us out on Facebook, like and subscribe. We've got
Check us out on the Book of Faces.
Yeah. We've got the Facebook group. Go ahead and join
The Tweety
that.
Bird, aka Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, I also never. Yo, yeah. The Facebook group is great. And if you like nerdy things, just follow us.
Yeah.
We're funny. We tell good jokes. Alan's super entertaining, and I come at the weirdness. Like, it's great. We're perfect.
But also check out our other podcast, Brain Digestion. And we also have a publication which encompasses both Geekery Update and Brain Digestion, which is called Brains Digested. We've got the first issue out now. You can check that out. You can find it on the Brain Digestion Facebook page.
Right on.
All right.